The Council of Harmonious Species had made their decision 300 years ago, and they believed it was the right one. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too violent to remain among the civilized races of the galaxy. The vote had been unanimous among the 12 founding species. Humanity would be quarantined to their home system, Sol, with all access to faster-than-light technology stripped from them. The quantum gates leading to Earth were dismantled. The coordinates to Sol were erased from every navigational database, and a network of automated defense satellites was positioned around the system's edge to ensure no human ship could ever leave. Ambassador Thelnara of the Valerian Imperium had cast her vote with certainty that day. She remembered standing in the Grand Chamber, her crystalline form refracting the light from 1,000 worlds, as she declared humanity unfit for galactic society. The evidence had been overwhelming. Human ships had been involved in 17 armed conflicts in just 50 years of first contact. Their soldiers fought with a ferocity that disturbed even the warrior races. Their diplomats negotiated with cunning that bordered on deception. Their scientists pursued knowledge with reckless abandon, unconcerned with the ethical implications of their discoveries. But what had truly sealed humanity's fate was the Kelthros incident. A human colony ship, the Odyssey, had been caught in the crossfire of a territorial dispute between the insectoid Kelthros hive and the aquatic Meridian Collective. The Kelthros had demanded the humans evacuate their settlement on Kelthros Prime, a world the hive claimed as ancestral territory. The humans had refused, arguing they had legally purchased the land from the Meridian Collective decades before. When Kelthros warriors descended upon the colony, expecting easy surrender, they found instead a population that fought with improvised weapons, booby traps, and a determination that shocked the galaxy. The humans held out for 6 weeks against a force 10 times their size. They turned farming equipment into weapons, used their children's toys as components for explosives, and coordinated their defense with a level of tactical sophistication that suggested every adult colonist was a trained soldier. When relief finally arrived from Earth, the human military didn't just defend the colony. They launched a counteroffensive that pushed the Kelthros back 3-star systems and destroyed 2 hive ships. The brutality of the campaign terrified the Council. Humans didn't just win battles. They obliterated their enemies and made examples of them. The Council's decree was swift. Humanity was a cancer that would spread violence throughout the stars if left unchecked. They would be isolated, contained, and forgotten. Let them war amongst themselves on their primitive world until they destroyed themselves or evolved beyond their savage nature. Either way, the galaxy would be safer without them. For 3 centuries, the galaxy thrived. The Council expanded to include 27 member species. Trade flourished across 10,000 worlds. Art, science, and philosophy reached heights never before imagined. Wars became rare, resolved through careful negotiation and binding arbitration. The Valorians perfected their crystal gardens, growing living structures that sang with captured starlight. The Meridians mapped the deepest ocean trenches of 100 worlds. The Kelthros even learned to coexist peacefully with their neighbors, their hive mind evolving toward cooperation rather than conquest. Humanity became a legend, a cautionary tale told to newly space-faring species. Some doubted they had ever existed. Others speculated they had destroyed themselves decades ago. The quarantine satellites sent no signals, no updates. The system was sealed, and no one thought to check what lay beyond those barriers. Thelnara, now serving her 3rd term as Speaker of the Council, rarely thought about the ancient decision. She had more pressing concerns. The newest member species, the Draconians, were requesting military support against an unknown threat that had destroyed 3 of their outer colonies. The attacks were precise, devastating, and left no survivors. No ships, no structures, just empty worlds with scorched surfaces and radiation signatures that matched no known weapon in the galactic database. The Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all 27 species gathered in the grand chamber, their varied forms illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays showing the destroyed draconian worlds. The images were haunting. Entire cities reduced to glass. Forests vaporized down to the bedrock. Oceans boiled away, leaving nothing but cracked seabeds. This is not the work of raiders or pirates, the draconian ambassador growled, his scales rippling with barely contained rage. This is extermination. Whoever did this wanted to send a message. Have you identified any ships? Any energy signatures? Felnara asked, her voice resonating through the crystalline amplifiers embedded in the chamber walls. Nothing. Our defense satellites recorded brief flashes of light, then destruction. Whatever weapons were used fired from beyond our detection range. We found this at one of the sites. A hologram flickered to life above the assembly floor. It showed a metal plate, roughly 1 meter square, planted in the center of what had been the draconian capital city on Draxus 3. Symbols were etched into the surface, angular and precise. The Council's linguistic AI struggled with the translation for several moments before words appeared beneath the alien script. You took our stars. We're taking them back. Silence descended upon the chamber. Felnara felt a chill run through her crystalline matrix, something she had not experienced in 200 years. Those symbols were familiar. Ancient databases stored in the Council's deepest archives held records of every known species, including those deemed too dangerous for contact. She already knew what the linguistic AI would confirm moments later. Language identified, human, English variant, circa 2050s CE standardization. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other, their voices creating a cacophony of fear and disbelief. The Kelthros ambassador, a massive creature whose chitin gleamed like polished obsidian, rose to his full 3-meter height. Impossible. The humans were contained. The quarantine field is impenetrable. Send a probe, Felnara commanded, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. Send a probe to Sol System immediately. We need to know what's happening there. The probe was dispatched within the hour, a small automated vessel equipped with the fastest FTL drive the Council possessed. It would take 3 days to reach Sol's coordinates, scan the system, and return with data. 3 days during which 2 more draconian colonies went silent. Their last transmissions cut off mid-sentence as orbital fire rained down from the darkness. When the probe returned, the data it carried was analyzed by the Council's best scientists from a dozen species. Felnara watched the preliminary report with growing dread, her crystalline form dimming as the implications became clear. The quarantine satellites were still there, still active, still broadcasting their automated warnings to stay away. But they were relics now, ancient technology that posed no threat to what lay beyond them. The probe's long-range sensors had detected energy signatures throughout Sol System. Massive ones. Fusion reactors that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. Shipyards in orbit around Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn that stretched for thousands of kilometers. And ships. Thousands upon thousands of ships. The probe had captured images before one of those ships had noticed its presence and vaporized it with a particle beam that crossed 500,000 kilometers in less than a second. The images showed vessels unlike anything in Council records. They were angular and brutal, covered in armor plating that suggested they were built to take damage rather than avoid it. Weapons bristled from every surface. Engine signatures indicated acceleration capabilities that would turn most species into paste against their own bulkheads. But it was the final image that sent ice through every heart in the Council chamber. A ship larger than some moons, its hull etched with words in a dozen human languages. The English translation read simply, UNSS Retribution. They've been preparing, the Meridian Science Director said, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. For 300 years, they've been preparing for this. How? The Kelthros ambassador demanded. We took their FTL technology. We isolated them. We gave them a challenge, Felnara said quietly, the realization settling over her like a shroud. We told humanity that they couldn't have the stars, and we expected them to give up. We forgot the first lesson they taught us. Humans don't surrender. They adapt. The investigation into humanity's technical advancement revealed a story of innovation born from isolation and spite. Without access to Council FTL technology, which relied on stable quantum tunneling through artificially generated wormholes, humans had developed their own method. They called it helical space compression, a brute force approach that literally crushed the fabric of space-time ahead of a ship while expanding it behind. It was inefficient, requiring enormous amounts of energy, but it worked. And it worked at speeds that made Council FTL look like a leisurely cruise. They had done it without access to exotic matter, without graviton manipulators, without any of the advanced materials the Council had taken for granted for millennia. They had done it with fusion reactors, with magnetic bottles, with quantum computers built from silicon and determination. It had taken them 200 years to crack the mathematics, but once they hadn't just built ships. They had built an armada. The attacks on draconian worlds continued, for more colonies destroyed in as many days. Each time, the same message was left behind, growing more elaborate. On the fourth colony, the message included a counter, 23 to go. The Council's military advisors scrambled to understand the significance. 23. Why 23? Then, someone checked the historical records and found the answer that made everyone's blood run cold. 27 species sat on the Council, for had joined after humanity's exile. 23 had voted to quarantine them. They're coming for us, the Draconian ambassador said, his voice hollow with the realization. They're coming for all of us. We need to mobilize the defense fleets, a counselor from the Saurian Confederacy insisted. Establish a defensive perimeter, fortify the core worlds. Against what? Felnara asked. We don't know how many ships they have. We don't know their full capabilities. We don't even know where they'll strike next. Then, we need to negotiate, the Meridian representative suggested. Open communications. Offer reparations for the exile. You think they want to talk? The Kelthros ambassador's mandibles clicked with bitter laughter. They've been planning this for 300 years. You don't plan revenge for 3 centuries because you want to negotiate. Felnara made a decision that she knew would haunt her for whatever time she had left. Send a message to Sol System. Request a meeting. Use all available channels, all human languages we have on record. Tell them the Council wishes to discuss terms. The message was sent across every frequency, in every format, translated into 17 human languages, including several dead ones pulled from ancient databases. It repeated continuously for 72 hours. The Council waited, watching their sensors for any sign of response, any indication that humanity was willing to listen. The response came in the form of another destroyed world. This time, it was a Valerian colony, Felnara's own species. Crystal spires that had taken centuries to grow were reduced to powder. Millions of her people dead in minutes. And, at the center of the devastation, another message, this one personal. Speaker Felnar.